OSPtv, we are back live in studio. Man, it's good to be back. OG, nice to see you again.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. We are back, 2022, our first live podcast back in studio after a little bit of a hiatus. Took some time over the holidays. Great Christmas, New Year's, Kwanzaa, whatever anybody was celebrating. For us, just kind of some time off. But we are back in studio, and we got our first live guest back in quite a while, OG.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. But, of course, introducing first, I'm Amer Abdallah. This is our co-host, OG Woods. For all of you that don't know, now you know. The OG Woods. OG had a little bit of a COVID setback, but he's back in action. He was immune for about 3 years.
That is a fact. And then we rang in the new year with a little taste of the virus.
Mm-hmm. Did you get your taste and smell back?
No smell. Got most of my taste back.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. It's actually been a good thing that I haven't had my smell.
Yeah. Good. Special guest. This is actually, believe it or not, OG, this is the first guest we've had on twice on the podcast.
First time multiple time guests. First time was virtually, though. So.
First time was virtual. Second time in studio. The one, the only, the number one strength and conditioning coach, or in the top strength and conditioning coaches in the world, has been a decorated professional athlete himself, has trained numerous world champions. Oh, Shota. Has trained numerous world champions. Now is the most in-demand strength and conditioning coach in combat sports. The one, the only, the legendary CLW, Coach Larry Wade.
What's going on,
back,
fellas?
my brother.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, guys. You know what? It's been a great trip. I'm happy I got here, but there's one small thing, though.
Here we go.
Why didn't any of you tell me it's going to be 7?
Hold on.
You in the cave.
Hold on, CLW. I screenshot the forecast, and I sent it to you.
Yes, but no way I can prepare for 7 degrees. No one can actually really mentally prepare themselves for what 7 degrees feels like.
Vegas is mid-60s. It's going to be low 70s this week.
Right.
Yeah, just
always sunny.
Lower that by about 60 degrees. And
about 60 degrees difference.
Right, 60 degrees difference.
Crazy. Let's jump right into it. Larry, good to have you back.
Hey, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You are back in studio here. We have OSPtv, of course, but One Source Provider, our OSP marketing team, has a virtual conference to kick off 2022. Believe it or not, we were going to do this in person. With the recent COVID spike, we went to a virtual conference, which we held off as long as we could, but out of safety and concern, we had to make it virtual.
You forgot one of his other accolades.
What's that?
Not only is he the first two-time guest on the OSPtv, but he's the second multiple speaker at an OSP conference.
Now, mind you, I said that to him on the way
You
back
did
from
say
lunch.
that
I
to
said,
me.
there's only
You
one
did.
legend.
There's only one other.
There's only one legend. Please say legend. There's only one legend that ever came back. What? There's only one legend that ever came back to
Who
not
would that
two,
be? Who would that
but
be?
3.
Who would that
OSP
be?
So that just
National
means you got to
Conference.
shoot for 4.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I cannot.
And then he'll be the
but
legend.
he'll
You
never
can be
allow
the-
that to happen.
Then you be considered the GOAT.
But
He
see,
could be
he'll
a
never
legend.
allow that to happen. So
Well, you know, I'm
He like,
talking
this is
Johnny
it.
and
He'll-
Shota. We're going to see what we can do.
he won't even let me come back after this. Like, you can't even visit. It's over.
Well, I mean, if the agents demand it and the teams demand it and the directors demand it.
I'm putting in my bid now.
I tell you.
After this, let's make sure we
Let
do
me tell
that.
you something. The reason we brought you back, we were looking at different guest speakers. Everybody loved your presentation.
Thank you.
Facts.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
let's take it back. Our first national conference, Coach Larry Wade, Badu Jack, and Mike Tyson were all our guests.
Right,
David
right.
Meltzer.
Yep.
Were all our guests at the national conference in Chicago, August 5th, 6th, 7th. And it was our 10-year anniversary, so we brought in some heavy hitters. Man, everybody fell in love with Larry. He had the theme of do more.
Right.
And you know, that's your premise of everything that you do is just doing more on the team, as a coach, as an individual, as a professional, as an athlete. We'll let you talk about that a little bit. And it was such high demand that we were going to bring him back for the kickoff in person. But, you know, with COVID, everything, we went virtual, but we were still able to have the opportunity to bring you in. So we'll be going live with you on the OSPtv in the conference there. Tell us more about this premise, Larry. Do more. Above everything else that you do, talk just about that.
Well, before I say that, I just want to say I'm super ecstatic and happy to be here Part of the reason is because you guys handle yourself with such a high professional level.
Thank you.
And I always enjoy it. I always have fun. The energy is always amazing. So when you put yourself in that situation, it makes life so much better, and it makes the product so much better. So I'm happy to be here. So I thank you guys again for allowing me to be here.
Thank you, brother.
In emphasizing the premise of do more, it was relatively simple to come up with because with the level of elite and professional athletes that I work with, it's hard to be the very best at what you do. And the guys that I work with, they don't have the understanding of just being good.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have
guys like who?
Guys like Badu Jack, Shawn Porter, Caleb Plant, Luis Ortiz. For those who are into the YouTube, social media, KSI, these kind of individuals, they don't want to just be one of many.
Right.
They want to be the one.
Right.
And when you want to be the one, it changes the mentality all the way around. We always talk about being great. We always talk about it, so I want to be great at something. I want to be great at this. I want to be great at that. But very few of us talk about, I want to be the greatest at it. And the individuals that I'm with, that's their mindset. They don't want to just be one of many. They want to be one of one, right? And so in order to do that, you have to be able to understand you can't do the bare minimum. And you can't just go a little above your average. You have to go above that. You have to be willing to do more at all times. And I mean, in every little thing you do, you have to be willing to do more. Yep. And it's a mindset. And I've even said this at the conference that the way you do one thing is the way you're going to do everything. And that has to be the mindset. I'm going to do more in every single thing that I do. Not just in the ring, not just in the boxing gym, not just when I'm at the table eating the right things or go to bed early. It's in every single thing you do. And once you understand that mindset and you put the work behind it, now you have a legitimate opportunity to be that number one guy. Mm-hmm. So do more is a part of my everyday life and theirs as well.
Can't really sum it up any better than that.
No. But let me ask you this, Larry. You're a decorated professional track and field star. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, he was in one of the first video games that came out, right?
That's right.
For real?
Right.
EA
yeah,
Sports.
man. Yes. It was actually Konami, and it was when PlayStation came out, and they came out with it. One of the top two games they wanted to come out with was track and field, and so they needed an elite athlete to do it, and I was one of the few, along with Maurice Green, who was Olympic gold medalist and a world record holder at the time. And I was the hurdler that they decided to, put on the game. And the experience was beyond amazing.
Oh, the game looked awesome.
When I got the game at the time, I didn't even know how to accept that that's me on TV, right? Yeah. And then you had to have these codes or whatever to actually hear me speak in real life. So at that time, the graphics were...
They weren't that bad.
They were amazing at that time.
Yeah, I was gonna say they weren't that bad.
Now we got to work on it.
I remember when we went with
over
Caleb.
20.
It was like there was 300 cameras.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
It's insane.
Then we didn't have a lot of cameras, but they had these reflective balls stuck all over us in Velcro.
Wow.
Right? And they were asking me to
go get like the movements.
Yeah,
right?
to get the movements. And they were like, "Can you go full speed on this concrete?" And like, probably not, but I'll do the best I can. But the experience was amazing, man. And I think if anyone ever gets that opportunity to have that type of opportunity to be exposed to that, you can't pull a dollar.
If anybody has the opportunity to be in a video game.
Yeah, everybody. I know everyone doesn't have that opportunity.
Nobody has that opportunity.
Just a normal thing.
Yeah, when you get the opportunity, you grab it.
You can't put a price tag on that. You really can't. It lasts
know
forever.
You can.
Well, I mean, I think every kid playing video games at some point or another created their own player as themselves.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And of course, the muscles are bigger. You're always faster. You're always stronger.
Right.
So my point being, decorated professional athlete.
Right.
Aside from the video game, you're actually one of the first athletes to have a Nike endorsement.
Yeah.
You were a 6-figure athlete.
Yes.
As a track and field star.
Yes.
Texas A&M Hall of Famer.
Yes.
So Larry, when I say that, and I'm just touching on a couple of the accolades that you have, you're in a room with a guy like Badu Jack, and as you know, there can never be two alpha males in a room.
Absolutely.
And this is what I admire about you so much is, and I'm saying this openly, publicly, and I will say this until my last breath. The biggest attribute that I respect about you is your art of humbleness.
Thank you so much.
Badu Jack, who was a 2-time world champion, should have been 5-time world champion.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the only guy in boxing that fight 8 world champions back to back.
Crazy.
Has an amazing career. Will be training in the gym, and when he's done working out, he needs to go to the car, and there's an extra bag on the ground, and Larry will go there, pick up the bag, pick up the ice bucket, pick up whatever needs to go.
Absolutely.
And this is not, you know, for, and I don't mean it by any means, but it's not a schlep. Like, this is a decorated guy.
Right.
This is not your average guy. The guy in a video game, right? And he'll go and he'll pick it up, and he'll walk Badu out, and he'll say, and most of the time, you'll grab the bag from Badu. Now, champ, I got it.
Absolutely.
That art of humbleness is really, Larry, I sit back and I admire it, and I'm like, man, because I don't know if I can be that humble. You know,
first of all, you can listen to him talk. First of all, you can, and being part of the team. And I said this in the convention: when you're part of a team, your job is to do whatever's needed at the time. And I think that too many people focus on the title, opposed to focusing on the ultimate goal. And the ultimate goal is to win. And if that is your job and your ultimate goal, and everybody on the team is feeling like the purpose is to win, then you're willing to do whatever it takes or whatever's needed.
Sure.
And in my opinion, I mean, after the champ has been training as hard as he's trained in the ring, and he finishes his day, which is hours in the gym, I'm pretty sure he's tired a little bit. So why not take that one little bit away from him, one less thing that he has to be responsible for, put it on my back, and as you said, me being decorated, set the standard of what's needed for each and every last one of us.
The whole team.
You know, so if I'm this guy and I'm supposed to be the strength conditioning guy for him, and my job is just to get him stronger, faster, and fitter, why not show the whole team I'm willing to do whatever it takes, which means hopefully you guys understand you should be willing to do whatever it takes, because that's the only way we're going to be successful. The only way. So
yeah, I mean,
that's it.
I think, you know, in sports in general, whether it's boxing, UFC, track, the margin for error in that, when the competition is so small,
man,
that you see even more so in individual sports, the athletes giving so much credit to the team. Like, it's like, you know, they have boxers, they have, you know, chefs, strength and conditioning, boxing coach, you know, sports psychologist, you name it.
Right.
And if the whole team, you know, from what I've heard and some of the guests we've had on here, if the whole team isn't in unison,
it's a problem.
And putting everything in, it's not going to work anymore.
Absolutely.
Because that line is so thin.
I don't know if you know, but OG played college football.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was
many years ago.
Wide receiver.
Okay.
No, he was a beast.
Yeah.
Actually, he holds another accolade.
I'm scared.
He was the first player to play every game without a helmet. So all those helmets. So that's why sometimes, you know,
you
he
seen
won't
it
remember.
coming, right?
So, yeah,
He doesn't remember a
when
lot
we
of
first started working together and we go on the road a lot, he goes, I just have to tell you that, you know, I was hit in the head a lot, so I tend to forget things. So, you know, don't be offended or any type thing if I forget something or whatever. And I'm thinking in my head, like, oh, you have no idea. We're going to fit right in.
Elephant compared to him. He's terrible. Larry, let me tell you something. No, this dude makes me look like, I swear, like I'm like the king of the game now. This dude, we'll have a cup of coffee in the car. Then we we open the door, get in the car, and we drive, and his coffee's still on the hood. He's terrible.
That's true.
Yeah.
But when he fails.
Wait a minute, stop. We got a but at the end of that? He's like, that's true, but. I want to hear the but.
Oh, yeah, no, it's awful.
He loves to leave out. I may have left my coffee on the hood.
Yeah.
Homeboy here left his watch that costs more than some people's house, in the hotel. Can't find it. He calls security.
And I'm sure security is like, yeah, we got it, right?
They're like, oh, no, sir, we can't find it. No housekeeping turned it in. He's like, I'm calling the authorities, blah, blah, blah. I said, did you check in your luggage? Yeah. I'm going to go check again.
It's in there.
It was in the luggage the whole time.
That's not a bad mistake.
That's not a good one, though.
No, I forgot that I put it in my luggage, but that's not as bad as some of the stuff that he does. No, he'll do circles in a room because he won't know where he is. I don't know. I know seriously.
What's my name again?
Yeah.
Damn.
No, the OG is a beast. But so let me ask you something. On a football team, you got to have egos.
Have to.
How do they deal with multiple alpha males on the team? How can they all be cohesively on a team?
Well, everyone has to be working towards the same goal. Typically, on offense and defense, the quarterback's the leader on the offense, inside linebacker's the leader on the defense. It kind of calls plays, gets people in line. But, you see it, egos cross in practice. It's very normal for fistfights to break out.
Okay, so that does happen.
Yeah, it's healthy. It's sometimes encouraged.
Mm-hmm. Larry, shifting back over to you. Shawn Porter, amazing career.
Right.
I talked to him the other day.
Yep.
Tried to lure him back into another fight. He wasn't having it. A phenomenal career. This is a kid that you've been with for a long
9 years.
time.
9 years.
His last fight, he did just over close to $5 million he was making. The last couple of fights, he's been in the $1 million range.
Correct.
What's so impressive is, sometimes you look at businesses and you see them making the hundreds of thousands, and you see them making the million statuses, and they get into the tens of millions, hundreds of millions.
Right.
And the business, and you're like, man, I wish I got involved with that business early on.
Right.
Shawn Porter, Badu Jack, Caleb Plant. These guys you started with.
Right.
How much did you make with your first fight with Shawn Porter?
Believe it or not, and see, most people, and I always say this, people see me where I'm at now, right?
Yeah, you're talking about
and they think that's just the way life has always been, right? I'd had my first world championship fight, world title fight, right, with Shawn Porter. And it was in New York. It was against Devin Alexander, the IBF world title. I'm super stoked to be there. Never been in the corner of a world title fight before. And this is my job. I get the opportunity to go here. I go there, we win, I get my check. Now, mind you, I'm just ecstatic to be there, right? I get a check for $500.
Oh, snap.
$500 was my very first check. What do you think, OG, my behavior was? You don't even have to worry. I'm going to tell you. I was so ecstatic. I was so happy. I was so happy. Like, God, I called my wife. I'm like, I got $500 and I'm here. And she's like, what?
See, that's the difference. How much did you make for your first fight with Caleb Plant?
Zero.
$0. Caleb Plant just fought for $10 million against Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah.
But see, the thing is, let me ask you this, hang on, before I even say that. Is the level of work, the commitment of work, the number of hours, the intensity, has that changed since fight 1 to fight 20?
That's never changed. And in regards to Caleb, let me clarify that for you guys. Caleb was on board with my company to work with someone else, right? This person was not able to follow through with a complete camp. I was actually with Badu Jack, who was also the super middleweight world champion. Mm-hmm. Caleb was also in that division, wasn't a world champion yet. I wasn't trying to have a conflict of interest based on them being in the same weight class. Right. So I asked Badu Jack first. I said, Badu, is it okay if I work with Caleb? Badu had already informed me and informed us that he was trying to go up to light heavy. He said, I'll probably only be here one more fight. It's no big deal for me. I'll probably never fight him, so it's no big deal. You can take him. I still felt uncomfortable, and that's why I had this other guy work with him for the one fight. He didn't follow through. Caleb went on to win the fight, and then the next fight, I ran to Caleb, and I was like, please, give me the opportunity to make up for it. Please give me the chance to work with you. I think you're an amazing fighter. Badu had moved up to light heavy by this point. The very next fight, which was the one he had, I wasn't charging him anything for the fight because I was just grateful that he didn't hold a grudge against me and giving me the opportunity. And the one thing I can honestly say is from that point, he was very committed and loyal to the work I wanted to do and me as a trainer and coach. And he's done a wonderful job of taking care of me and the people around him as well. Yep. He's done a wonderful job of doing that as he's grown up the ladder, because one thing's for sure, as he grew, he wanted us to grow too.
Yeah.
So he did a great job. So that was the reason, and that's why I wanted to get clarification, because Caleb is always going to give support to the people who support him at all times. You put in the work, he's going to make sure you're taken care of. And that's
100%.
one of the things I can say about him.
Well, I think coach-athlete relationship, right at the top of the list is loyalty.
Yeah.
You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? So,
Absolutely.
And the
Both
way
ways.
it was,
Both ways.
100%. And, I think to the original point of $500 the first fight, 0 for Caleb, and you hear Caleb makes like $10 million now. Mm-hmm. And it's easy for people to say like, oh, he made $10 million in a night or, whatever it is.
Right.
No, it wasn't in a night.
Right.
It started 20 years ago.
Correct.
And that's a flashpoint of success. And that's how a lot of business works. You know, he didn't make that night. He made it when he started boxing.
But when it comes to Larry, my point being is that he was on the ground level with all of these guys when the business was brand new.
Well,
Exactly.
and 100%, people see what
And he took
what
and he made the
gets
investment.
now,
Yeah, of
but
course.
Back then, it's
Exactly.
all those hours from then. to
100%.
now.
Yeah. But that was an investment. So the point being is the time, the dedication, the hours, the commitment, the tenacity, the attitude was all the same from
Enthusiasm.
when
Never
everything.
changed.
From that point to this point.
Never
And
changed.
what a vast difference the money made. But you committed yourself
Absolutely.
and committed yourself to your athlete
Absolutely.
to be able to do that. And that's where most guys fall off of this game. Right. Everybody looks for that short money.
The effort that I put in when he was making 25 to 50,000,
Yep.
the effort didn't get less. I didn't put any less effort. I put in, if anything, more effort to make sure he could be successful. So my enthusiasm didn't change because I was making less. I put the same amount of energy, the same amount of effort into it. And then as he is now, nothing's changed. I'm still putting in that effort, if not more. And so, and it will never change. And the thing that I love about it, not to take the attention off of me, is his passion for it hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. Before, I want to say maybe 30 days after the fight, he gives me a phone call and he's like, thanking me for the job I did, and he appreciates the job. But he was like, "Look, get your rest because I'm ready to get back in there."
Yeah.
This ain't even. This barely 30 days out. He like,
dog.
I'm ready to get back in there. I'm like, but I don't know if I'm ready yet.
Yeah,
So no, he was ready, and that's where the real applause should go for a guy who, works as hard as he works, commits as much as he does, and have such a mega fight that he had in less than 30 days. He's like, you know what? That was that. Let's get to work.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, he isn't looking to jump back in, it seems, with just anybody. I mean, he's
he's
already calling
He's already talking trash. He's already talking trash.
Listen, why go deal with all this little petty
Right.
fights? He like, look, get me who's hot. You want to talk? Now, mind you, these are people requested him, and he's like, I want this smoke. Yeah. Give me the smoke. I want the work. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, they say they want it. We'll see if they actually do, though.
Yeah, they say.
So-
A lot of people say it, though.
Until it happens.
Right.
Larry Wade, accomplished athlete, accomplished coach, now a brand in your own right, heading into motivational speaking. You've had a couple of engagements, a phenomenal backstory and how all of that came to fruition. So this is what, like Dustin said, this is what people see now. Let's go back. You're a country boy from Texas.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about your origin, how it all started.
So listen, the reality of it is, as an athlete, I started in the sport of track and field. Unfortunately, in where I was at, we didn't have combat sports, so we only had. If anybody's from Texas, they understand. There's only 2 sports that matter: football and football.
Cow tipping.
So if you're not in football, nothing else matters, right? And so I found myself in the sport of track and field, and following my father's footsteps in that area. And the one thing that my father would never let me do is fall short on my commitment to whatever I did. He didn't care if I wasn't the best at it. If you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it to the best of your ability, or you're not going to do it at all. Mm-hmm. So I knew anything I committed myself to, it was going to have to be done at the highest level, or it wasn't going to be done at all. And once that became a part of my genetic makeup, per se, my fabric, I applied that to every single thing that I did. And as you guys will hear in the future, and one of my things I'm going to say tomorrow, my biggest fear has always been the same. And that's not someone hurting me and me getting injured, or even losing my life to that degree. It's me failing. That's my biggest fear. And I think that's a lot of people's fear. So what I do is, just so you guys understand, I can't stop failure from happening. As a matter of fact, in some cases, you need to encourage it so you can get better at it. But what I do is work extra hard to make sure the odds go in my favor. And if I fall short, find out why, fix that. Let me tell you something. Humble yourself and fix that so you don't fail again.
What part of Texas are you from?
I'm from a little town, Elgin, right outside of Austin. You know, that's where we're from.
Austin. We went to Austin, right? Isn't Austin like they keep it weird or something?
Yeah,
like
keep
that?
it weird. That's
keep it weird. That's
keep it
Austin.
weird. Yep.
Yeah.
That's where I'm from.
I try not to hold against you. What made you go to Texas A&M?
Oh, here we go.
Being an Alabama fan, and
Well, here's the reality. My dad actually attended Texas A&M.
Okay.
And I actually wanted to go to the University of Texas at first. That was the goal. You know, they're rival schools.
Okay.
And because of, not now, but at one point they were, it came to a point where financially I couldn't afford to go to Texas based on the scholarship amount they was offering me. And they said, it gave me some encouraging words once they realized I wasn't going to go there. It's like, okay, good luck at A&M. We'll beat you. Ooh. I don't take that too well. So I went to the rival school and I destroyed them. That was the goal. That was once I went to Texas A&M and I knew that was our rival school. I made it a point that every time that I saw them that I would make sure they would pay for those words. I never lost, and multiple national champion, multiple All-American.
Beast.
Yeah. No, you were very decorated.
So that was it.
Larry, you had a very unique setback in your 20s, a medical condition.
Right. Yeah, so one of the things that I had to endure, which, you know, I didn't quite understand at that time, you know, when we go through things as young adults, we automatically think it's an attack at who we are.
Sure.
You know, to take away for our own success. When I was 25, I was in my, I think, second year of being professional. I was ranked number 2 in the world, and during Olympic year, as a matter of fact. And I'm excited about this Olympic year because, hey, this is my chance to do what we as track and field athletes want to accomplish our entire life to make the Olympics.
Right.
That's the top of the top. And so I had a car accident in that year. Actually, it was Easter Sunday. And I ended up totaling my car, going into the hospital, and just so happened a week and a half later, I had a heart attack.
At 25.
25 years old.
In your prime.
In my prime on Olympic year, I had a heart attack. And the car accident caused that to happen because once the airbag hit me in the chest, I had internal bleeding.
Wow.
And there's a sac that surrounds your heart, your heart called pericardium. And that heart, that sac was being filled with fluid. So my heart is working harder and harder and harder.
And nobody saw that.
No one saw it. It's hard to see because the first day I go in, the swelling's not really in there. It took time for the fluid to fill that sac.
Where were you when you had the heart attack?
I was in California. When I had the actual heart attack, I was actually in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Because I was having problems.
That's kind of a good thing.
Yeah.
I was having problems, and I thought I had the flu. Like, my body just was not in order. And then I woke up from a nap in the daytime, and my whole left side felt like it was sleep. You know how you can go to sleep and your hand feel like got little pins in it? My whole left side. And the only time I knew anything about this is when I'm seeing it on TV, right?
Wow.
And it's like, if you feel your left side go numb, you're about to have a heart attack. And I was like, I'm too young to have a heart attack. But something's not right. So I tried to get up. And when I tried to get up, I felt like a knife was being stuck on the side of my body. I found a way to get to the hospital, and I'm going through everything. They do the x-rays, and they said, hey, you were here 2 weeks ago, right? And I'm like, yeah. And they compared the x-rays from one side of my heart to the other side of the heart, meaning the cavity itself, and my heart had grown 2 to 3 sizes.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of like your muscles after you work them out after a while, they grow, they get bigger and bigger. Well, it got so big that it had filled my chest cavity.
Oh, my God.
So my heart is trying to make me survive, and I didn't quite understand because I'm sitting there sweating. Why are you sitting down as an elite professional athlete and you're sweating doing nothing?
Wow.
Right? And so after I find out, and they're like, hey, we have to rush you to surgery. We're about to have emergency heart surgery. And I'm like, no, we're not. What are you talking about? I'm a pro athlete. I'm not going to have heart surgery. And it just so happened as they're wheeling me to the back, he's like, hey, we finna, it went black. And when I woke up, wow, surgery was done. I didn't know it. I had the heart attack right there. They rolled me to the back, brought me back.
So when it went black, was that them putting you under? Or was
No.
That was a heart attack.
I went black. They didn't put me under. It went black, and next thing you know, I wake up and I'm in the bed.
Man, that's a blessing.
Yeah. The hard part about that situation was, and you guys will hear about this tomorrow, I got the Olympic trials in 7 weeks. Oof. 7 weeks.
Ranked 2 in the world.
Ranked 2 in the world. And I'm like, I'm running. And they're like, no, you're not. I'm like, I am running. And so I made a decision. Wow. Along with my coach, and he wasn't for it, but it didn't matter at that point. I made a decision that I came this far. I'm not going to allow this situation to determine if I'm going to be successful or not. So I went out there. Now, understand you, I wasn't competing. I wasn't training well. I had lost a lot of weight. I had become anemic. I think I had lost maybe 12 to 15 pounds.
Wow.
And so clearly the strength wasn't there, but I had to try my best. So I went to the trials. I ran. I got 5th at the Olympic trials there, putting me in the category of Olympic alternate. But here's the thing. As I'm going through it, I'm struggling. And the doctor and I, we were talking on the phone. He says, listen, if you continue to do this, you could possibly have a heart attack and lose your life out there. I told him this, and I stand on this. I said, I'd rather die. I want you to hear me. I'd rather die trying to accomplish something than not try at all.
That's nuts.
That's what he said. At that time, you have to understand the level of passion I had for what I was doing. I'd invested over 15 to 20 years into accomplishing this one thing, to be this close. I wasn't letting anything get in the way. Sure. So I'd rather try doing it, die trying to do something, than to sit back and let it fly past me.
Yeah.
And if I make it through and I don't make it, I can accept that. But for me to sit at home, watch other people get my opportunity that I worked so hard to get.
People that you normally beat.
Normally that I beat on a regular basis, and you're number 2 in the world. And for those who don't know, in Olympic trials, you only have to be the top 3.
Wow.
In the U.S. I'm number 2 in the world. So the odds of me making it are in 99%. I took my shot. I fell short. Wow. I did have a relapse. I did. But it was worth it, man, and I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why I wouldn't change it, though. I wouldn't change it for anything in the world, because what it taught me is that anything you put your mind to, no matter how big or how small, if you're committed to it, even if you fall short, you find out how great you really are. Because here I am 7 weeks out, and I just beat the best people in the United States.
Right.
That's crazy. 7 weeks after a heart attack.
The best people in the United States have been training 8 to 10 years to get to this point. So what it did for me is just tell me how good I really was.
Yeah.
Right? So it's even though I didn't make that team, it still empowered me and motivated me for the next year, where I ended up being in the top 2 in the world again.
Hey, well, I mean, how many people got a gold, silver, or bronze medal? Tons.
Yeah.
There ain't many people that went to qualifiers 7 weeks after.
I am the only one.
No, that's phenomenal, man.
Yeah,
wow.
so that was my goal. That was the purpose and the focus of it all.
Wow. What a story.
That's crazy.
You know, and to get to that level, and to get to that, to have that kind of tenacity, I think, you know, one of the things that I always say is, you know, most people die at the age of 30. They don't get buried until they're 80. Mm-hmm. But that fire inside of you, and this is what really separates a lot of champions, legends, is that fire, even though, you know, it might have expired in track and field, that same fire just got transitioned over to a different channel.
Absolutely.
It got transitioned over to coaching, and then that got transitioned. Larry bugs me more than any other person. I'm telling you.
He's telling the truth. I do. I harass him a little bit.
I have the honor and the pleasure of representing Larry.
Yes, he does.
Which, by the way, wasn't my choice.
No, it wasn't. He's telling the truth. It wasn't his choice. I actually harassed him.
No, he did. He said, I'm going to let you represent me. So get the contract out. But I was
make it happen.
Larry, I just help you with some things. No, you're going to represent me. All right, get the contract.
Didn't you type out the contract?
This is what happened. He didn't.
And then he had the audacity to start negotiating. I'm like, you asked me to give you a contract.
He was like, I don't really, I mean, you're a coach, you know, I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. We're doing it. We're going to be together. I don't care what you're saying. We're together. We're working together. That's it. And then he covered the contract. I said, okay, I kind of like this, but yeah. But we're still together. He said, I don't have to do this in order to, you know, help you. I'm like, no, we're going to be together. I need him to be invested. We're together. So here we are. We're together now.
And you know, it's one of the best decisions that I didn't make. And it turned out great. I mean, I love it.
So you were the ant in this.
I was the ant. 100%.
Am I the honey? What am I the honey?
100%.
Oh, the bee. I don't understand.
And there has been a lot of situations that we've come at, and Larry has become a brand, the CLW brand. He's such high demand, looking to get into things. He got into commentating some boxing fights.
I did,
which I thought you did phenomenal on
Thank you
Fox
so much.
Sports. I thought you did great on that. Unfortunately, Fox Sports lost the boxing shows, so
I was wondering what happened to. They were cranking them out.
Yeah. I think the situation, as far as I know of it, now I'm not behind the board to really understand everything, but they're still going to be in boxing. But I'm hearing that it may just be pay-per-view.
Yeah, just the big ones.
So it may just be pay-per-view moving forward, you know, and if that opportunity presents itself again, I welcome it. I enjoyed it. It was a great opportunity for me, and the producers loved it, you know, so we're looking forward to doing some things in the future, not only with Fox, but other companies.
I mean, I'm not shocked. I don't know how many speaking engagements you'd had prior, but I remember when you came to the OSP National Conference, me and Amir were sitting in the back, and within like 30 seconds, we were like, just looking at each other like, oh, he's going to crush this. Yep. He's killing it. So when we were going on Fox, I was like, oh, this is going to be great.
And I told OG, I said, listen, Dustin, this is either going to be the best presentation of the conference or the worst. It's not going to fall.
I'm glad it was the first one.
And it's not the latter one. I mean, I'm not going to name names. You know, there was someone there that presented that does it for a living. And, you know, they couldn't have warmed you up, in my opinion. Right. I think that was the feedback.
Well, the blessed part about it was, when you feel welcome somewhere, it's like standing in your living room talking to your friends. It's easy. When I got here, I was welcome at the door. Everyone was very happy and inviting me into their space. And for someone who has to speak, when you stand in front of people who've already welcomed you, it wasn't hard. It's like I'm talking to my cousins or my friends or just my wife, who was actually in the audience as well. It was easy. It was just a matter of me not getting too excited, because I am a very passionate person.
Yeah, you know, you're a passionate person, and Larry. Okay, so let me shift here. Larry trains elite, world-class athletes only. Anything under that, he subs them out to other people on his CLWP, Coach Larry Wade Performance Team, except for one guy, my cousin.
That's my guy.
Right. Well, hang on a second.
That's my guy.
So it's my cousin, Doctor. He's you know, I'm partners with him in the IVF clinic. He is a mid 50-year-old doctor that in a former life wanted to be a fighter. Stubborn, very successful.
This isn't the one that you have a video. He tried to shoot something.
I tried to shoot something?
No, this is this the cousin that there was a break-in at the IVF clinic?
Oh, God. Yeah, we'll talk about that off camera. Oh, my God, OG. Edit! So Larry trains him, and he said something to me. He goes, you know why I like training with Larry? He just finds a way to win. He goes, no matter what. He's like, if you look at the people around him, forget about you like him, you don't like him, you believe in his stuff, you don't believe in his stuff. He does things wrong, he does things right. He finds a way to win. And he said it. I never thought of it like that. Because there are things, Larry, that you did. And mind you, I have a little bit of experience in that field. And I look and I'd be like, man, I'm not sure that's ergonomically correct. I'm not sure that's functionally correct. I'm not sure that's the right exercise for this. And I would question things. But at the end of the day, he's right. You find a way to win. You make it happen.
Well, it's easy when you have the type of athletes that I have, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to have people in place that can actually understand, and not only understand, execute what you're asking of them. They put in the work. You get a guy like Caleb Plant, right? And I use him because I started out relatively early in his professional career. He knew what he wanted. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't afraid to put in the work. Right. And he had seen me train other world champions, Shawn Porter and Badu Jack. And one of the things he said, when you see someone take a guy, take him from one division to a higher weight division, and he's able to have a TKO in that first fight to get that world title, that's not just the boxer. That's not just the training, but that's also some of the work of the strength conditioning coach. And when you're in that situation, it makes a guy be more confident in what they're doing. And so when you say that, you got to have the right kind of people around you.
I'm laughing.
What are you laughing about? In order for that to work out. I'm scared. I'm so scared of this, what is about to come out.
He has that mentality of winning, working with these guys. So Johnny Cater, manager John, introduced us to KSI.
Oh,
So
I should have known.
Let me tell you this.
For those who don't know, this is gonna probably be the first time you guys actually hear this story, and this is a real story. And I'm gonna let him start it. Go ahead. Oh man, this is rough.
So I said so he was committed in fighting Logan for the second fight. The first fight, he fared well. The kid is a dog. He really is. JJ is a dog. He's a sweetheart. Dog. He's a nice kid. When Johnny first brought him over, I was like, Johnny, I don't want to talk about these YouTube nerds. I want nothing to do with these guys.
Right.
And he was like, I'm telling you. I was fine. He was like, can I use your name? I go, fine. Can we use the Mayweather gym? Fine. And he brought him in, and we fell in love with the kid. He was so committed, and he was so dedicated. And anyway, so they reached back out, and they said, if you could help us, with the training camp. So I took over the training camp, and I said, I'm going to put the key players in. Let me put the key players in. So he had Vidal as the head coach. Mm-hmm. We got Stitch Duran as the cut man. He had a strength and conditioning coach that he brought over from the UK. Right. I said, but we're going to need a professional guy. We're going to need a guy that's a little bit level up, and that's Coach Larry Wade. So I told Larry, I got this kid. He's like, yeah, I got one of my coaches can get. I go, no, Larry, you're training this kid. And he's like, nah, man, I got Caleb in camp. I got Shawn in camp. I got Badu in camp.
I ain't want anything to do with it. I was like, nothing.
Larry, I need you to get this guy. Oh, fine. Bring him this time. Was it 2:00, like in the middle of the day in the
First
summer?
of all, it wasn't
terrible.
that easy. We debated for a while. I don't know, man. I mean, because at that time, for everyone, so you understand the timing of it, the YouTube craze in boxing hadn't started.
No, it wasn't there.
This is the first, like, quote unquote push in the US that this was happening. I'm a established professional strength conditioning coach for world-class boxers.
Right.
My number one concern was me connecting myself to this situation makes me part of the quote-unquote circus. And,
right. And that's how it was viewed.
Yeah, me be part of the circus.
No, it was viewed that way.
I didn't want to be the clown and take away from everything that I'm working on from a reputation standpoint. Right. So I wasn't sure. So he and I debated about it for a while. And like always, he was able to convince me to do it.
It was like in the middle of the summer. Yeah, it was so hot. He was like, "All right, 2:00 p.m." I was like, "Larry, it's like 120 degrees on the track at 2 p.m." He's like, "That's the only slot I got." All right, fine. We'll bring the kid in. So we told him, and the kid's so happy to be training with Larry, and he shows up and he's ready. He gives it his all, and he does. Larry gives him what he does every fighter: a fitness assessment.
Right.
I would be scared.
I did this. He brought him in, and I attempted to reach out to them while he was in England to try to give some insight of what I would expect and what I would want. And communication wasn't the greatest at that time, only because they didn't know me, I didn't know them, and they're like, "We got this covered." Sure. I'm like, "Okay, well, when he gets here, he'll be ready." I asked Samir. I said, "Hey, when he gets here, he'll be ready." "Oh yeah, he has guys. He's okay." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." The day he gets here, I'm going to evaluate him to see where we are. This is when it goes wrong. What's the statement when keeping it real goes wrong? This when it goes way wrong.
So Larry does, he brings his heart rate up. He sees how long it takes him to recover, because that tells you how in shape the guy is.
Right.
Then he spikes it back up. Then he gives him a recover, just like a fight would be, an exchange would be. You got to be able to recover fast to be able to get in the pocket back again and start throwing at a certain level that you need to be throwing. Right. Speed, power, that all you have to be recovered and able to do that. So Larry does the test. The kid just bombs it.
Now, mind you, I'm mic'd up. I got a mic on me.
Oh, did you?
I had a mic. I didn't even know if the mic was hot.
Oh, wow.
The mic was hot. I didn't know the mic was hot. So he brings him front, and I'm testing the energy systems and seeing how long it's going to take to recover, where his heart rate goes to. And the first test, I'm looking at him like,
Larry gives me that shit thing.
I give him the look because I'm like, "Hey man, this is crazy." There's still 2 more tests ahead, so I'm trying not to lose it. I'm like, First of all, I'm reluctant. Secondly, he convinced me to do it. Thirdly, he's testing horribly. So by the second evaluation, I look at him, I said, hey, man, we need to talk.
Yeah. He comes over, he's like, all right, it's going to take us some time to get this guy ready. He's like, he's not anywhere near ready, Amir. I told you that I needed 1, 2, 3 done. I go, listen, I can only relay the information to the guys. I don't know. So he's like, all right, how much time we got? I go, Larry,
let's stop because I have one more test. We have one more test, the third test. By the third test, I've lost it. Yeah. I've lost it. And I said, hey, man, as you can tell, I'm animated and I'm passionate. I'm like, hey, this ain't working. I don't know what's going on. Right. He's like,
and he's so passionate about it because he wants to deal with just guys that are going to be, in this. And his name's already affiliated.
Exactly.
By the way, I already made sure the graphic was out, the poster was out.
It was already out. Like everything had already been, promoted. So clearly, my name is on board for this thing. So
before the assessment.
So he and I are having a conversation now. By this time, KSI has already gone into the little shed area and he's trying to rest. And he and I are going at it. We're going at it now.
It's not going to happen, man. We're going to need some time to get this guy ready. We're going to do this. I go, okay, all right, no problem. Yeah, that's fine. He goes, how much time I got? You got about 5.5 weeks. You got 6 weeks. I don't know.
Are you serious?
You are going to do this.
He said, come on, man. I said, no, Amir, I told you. Blah, 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 blah. He says, listen, man, you're doing this. This guy's got to fight. I said, I don't care. You told you, blah, blah, blah. He said, Larry, can you do it? I said, man, I don't have enough time. He said, you got 6 rounds. I said, can you do it? I'm like, man, Amir, you're testing me, man. He said, you got 6 weeks. Can you get him ready? I said, fine, I got it. Fine, whatever. I'll do it. Fine. And we both looked at each other like, fine, like kids, and walked to
your separate ways.
So we walked to the shed where KSI is at, and it's like nothing even happened, right?
Porky didn't know anything.
But then Audio looks at me like,
oh yeah, I think the Zones might have filmed that day.
And he says, I said, was I hot? I said, delete
Edit that.
Delete that. He said, we'll delete it. So I was like, whew.
He's like, there's no way this kid's going to be ready.
That was definitely
Let me tell you something. That boy put his work in.
Oh, man, did
that
he
boy put his work in.
Listen,
Johnny, you were right about that one.
I doubled down on him because the reality of it is, it doesn't matter if it was his first fight or if he didn't come from boxing. The reality is when he gets in that ring, his life is on the line every single time. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I take responsibility for that. I don't know if you ever knew that, but when a guy's with me, most guys get hurt in the ring for 1 or 2 reasons. One, they're not fit enough, so they can't respond correctly, right? The second thing is bad weight cuts, right? So I'm usually in charge of both of those things. Right. So in his particular case, it was worse for me because he didn't come from boxing. So I can't assume that he's going to know the right move. So I had to at least have him fit enough to deal with the 6 rounds. And I was not easy on him. But I pressed him like anyone else.
Like Dr. Maher said, you found a way to win.
Absolutely. We won, and I think I appreciate that win just as much as I appreciate almost any other win I've ever had.
I mean, now you see him every month. The YouTube fights.
It was big, and
now that's almost the face of boxing.
It is almost.
One more story before we wrap up, and you just said it here, and I don't even know if you remember this, but you said you take responsibility.
Absolutely.
After Badu Jack fought Marcus Brown in January of 2019, I think it was, Badu suffered one of the worst cuts in boxing history. 132 stitches, 3 layers of stitches. It was, a good 4 or 5 inch cut on his face.
Absolutely.
And after that fight, I think that was the first and only time I thought Larry and I were going to have a physical confrontation. He was in my face like, you did this. You brought this. You didn't do this. You had this. My guy's cut. He's not remembering that Badu is my guy also. He's probably closer to me than
And for the record, I so thought I got fired. My behavior.
Look at my guy. He's bleeding in front of his kids because you didn't do this and you didn't. I'm like, Larry, I got you, brother. And mind you, I already inside am feeling awful about, there are things that happened during that camp that shouldn't have happened. And
oh man,
but no, you took that responsibility, and you do. Your fighters are your guys. It's your pride. It's your honor.
When the fight was over, like every fight, I don't care what fight it was. If we won or if we lost, I evaluate and judge myself the hardest. If a guy wins, I'm still looking at what we could have done better, and him taking too many punches at one point, maybe I need to do something else. In that particular fight, it ended up really, really bad, and Badu has, in my opinion, the worst cut ever in boxing history.
It was crazy.
And for that fight not
and
to
he
be,
kept going.
And he kept going. That's just the soldier, you know, and the gladiator in him. Right.
Headbutt.
Yeah.
And so for them not to stop that fight and them to take it all away and for us to go to the back, when I got to the back, emotionally, I was so stimulated and actually furious and hurt. That's a big word, hurt. To see my guy and him being in such pain, but yet try to be strong for himself and his family, because when he got to the back, he didn't complain. No. He didn't cry. He didn't whine. He hugged his kids and his wife and said, I love you. I'll be okay. For me to see that and me to know that I don't want that for him and anyone else, I blew up because I felt like some things could have gone differently. I mean, no one was free from my wrath. I went after everyone. Amir says to him, but I went after everybody. I went after the coach. I went after the assistants that were on the side.
Oh, I didn't know you assaulted all those guys.
Oh, absolutely. I took the coach in the corner and I blew him up.
The anniversary, I think it was 3 years ago yesterday, 2 days
Really?
ago. Yep.
Crazy. So when it ended, only thing I could say was I was sorry, because that's the only thing you can do. And then when the next day came, I called Amir because I was like, man, I think I got fired.
Are we still cool?
I cussed out everybody.
Yeah.
And then I talked to Badu, and because Badu had to go to the hospital that night, and we were all in hospital while he was getting his plastic surgery or whatever done. And so the next day I talked to Badu and I said, hey man, listen, I'm sorry, I understand, if you want to let me go, And he says, for what? And I'm like, because I understand I cussed everybody, because everybody who knows Badu, he's not that guy.
No.
Badu is a loving, caring, humble guy. The guy that I became that night, he had never seen before. So, and that's someone that probably would never be on his team, right? And so I said, I'm sorry, man. He says, for what? And I tell him, he says, nah, don't worry about it. Not only did he not fire me, he gave me a bonus because of it. Because I cared so much.
Yes. No, and that's one thing about Badu is he values you. And I think all your guys, Larry, they value you, they appreciate you. And that same passion is what you do in every part of your life. You say it perfectly, and you say it during your speeches. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
Correct.
That is you. And you know what I've learned, Larry? After a fight, unless we win, I don't mess with you. I don't. I just leave I swear, I don't know if you noticed, but, you were sitting at the end of the row when Caleb fought. I was, 3-4 seats down. I walked 15 seats out to the left so I wouldn't have to go in front of you. I was like, I'm just going to leave him alone. I'll talk to him tomorrow.
I'll tell you this. Caleb's dad, I had to apologize to him because at the end of the fight, but of course, it didn't go the way I wanted to. I jumped out of where I was, jumped on the ropes, about to jump in the ring. And the ref was like, what are you doing? I'm like, that's my guy. I'm jumping in. He's like, no, step back. And the dad's like, relax. And I'm like, if dad can relax in this situation, let me step back.
Yeah.
But my number one goal, not only to my boxers, but to everyone that's in my life and in my circle, is to take care of them and protect them.
Yes.
And if I can do that,
bear that
that's my goal.
Yeah. You carry that burden to your heart, Larry. I think that's really what separates you from everybody. It's not a business to you. It's passion to you.
Absolutely.
And that's what I love about you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, Larry.
Thank you guys for having me.
First ever two-time guest,
Man.
Production team, manager John, Shota, co-host OG.
Yes, sir.
We're going to wrap it up with the
you.
man, the myth, the legend, the CLW. And we out. My team, my family, my OSP, and we're out.
Let's go.